From Joe Wood, what would the candidates pledge to do to work with TfL to install additional Santander bike stations within the borough to support journeys within Hackney rather than to and from central London? Which we did touch on Santander bikes, so let's start with Oliver.
So as I previously mentioned, I think Santander bikes do work for some people, they might not work for others. I think by working with sort of community groups, by taking that political leadership as a borough, that's the only way that you're going to get any change. By working with City Hall on the provision of dock bikes, but also I think that beyond that, I know that Phil did mention the rollout of dockless bikes in Hackney. I was pleased to see that as someone who uses them, but I think there is more to be done. I think certainly in the north there is a scarcity to the availability of dockless bikes where there isn't so much in the south because of the demand from the city. So I think that taking a two-pronged approach, yes, working to increase the provision of Santander bikes, perhaps making the interface slightly easier. I've certainly struggled in my past. I'm not, it's quite difficult to get a Santander bike, having to enter your card details every time. Certainly in my case, I don't know if that's anyone else's or if I'm just being a bit thick. But certainly dockless bikes do work as well, and I think we need to work with those companies and communities to ensure that there is a greater provision of that across the borough.
Thank you for the question. An important part of being mayor is working with other local authorities, neighbouring local authorities, and of course with City Hall and with TfL. And it's important that the mayor has a good relationship with TfL, and it goes two ways, I think. So an important part of this is engaging and being open-minded about where more Santander docks could be put, and thinking bigger with it. It's a whole borough. Perhaps there are places that haven't been looked into yet that would actually work quite well. So absolutely would be in favour of that.
Brian's deciding. Good question, Joe. I know that for me, Offo was an entry point to cycling in the borough when we had that dockless scheme. Santander has been a really important part. It's really useful as well if you know you don't want to finish the evening on a bike, and so you're going to cycle somewhere. So the role of dockless travel, I think, is incredibly important, and the role of Santander. We've seen a bit of an expansion in Santander over the last 2 years, so it now reaches sort of Wick, Victoria Park, the Hackney Town Hall, London Fields area. They are quite an expensive investment. I'm not sure if this is the true stat anymore, but when I was asked this question before, it was around 200,000 a base station. That's quite a lot when you look at the context of TfL budgets, council budgets, and you can do a lot for £200,000 around active travel, doing other things. So I think having a borough-wide dockless scheme mixed with Santander, and then thinking about where to maybe link to new development, unlocking further expansion of the Santander scheme would be the right decision. I don't think it, and there's also work around the cargo bike scheme and expanding that for business, more of our town centre locations. So I think it's a massive role, but it probably is, let's see how our dockless scheme works and where there are gaps in the network.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy. Thank you for the question, Joe. Just to add briefly to what everyone else has said, completely committed to looking into expanding to the kind of north of the borough. I've been using the Santander bikes more recently just because of the pandemic and not wanting to go on public transport, even though I own a bike. And I do love what they've been doing for the NHS, providing free travel to the NHS to support NHS staff to be kind of moving around on the docked bikes as well. But yeah, as Phil said, looking into the cost of that, as well as the expanding dockless bikes and how residents use those. As I said today, I met with TfL to talk about ULS and the expansion of that. So really keen to work with City Hall and residents to look at how we make this work.